Hello and welcome back to the King James Bible Sunday School channel on YouTube and Rumble, and to our day-by-day devotional from the Call to Glory publication. Uh, this year we're going through this, and today is July the 15th, 2026. July 15th, 2026, and the devotion today is going to come from 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 24 through 25. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 24 through 24 and 25. And before we go into the devotion, of course, we want to go through our daily Bible reading schedules. And today's reading for a yearly schedule from the devotional is Psalms 17 and 18, and then Acts chapter 19, verse 1 through 20. Psalms 17 and 18, and Acts chapter 19, verse 1 through 20. Then tomorrow will be Psalms chapters 19, 20, and 21, and Acts chapter 19, verse 21 through 41. That's Psalms 19, 20, and 21, and Acts chapter 19, verse 21 through 41. And before we go further than that, we're going to go to um, our other schedules. We have our 5-ribbon marker system from David Daniels, going through it in the year's time. We kind of added this as we were going because I wanted you to be able to do it over the year if you wanted to. So you want to finish up Judges chapter 20 today, about 3/5 of chapter 21. All right, and then finish up Psalm 98 and about half of 99. Finish Ezekiel chapter 5, and then Luke chapter 18. We want to get about 5/7 of the way through Luke 18. And then 2 Thessalonians chapter 3. We want to finish that and get about a fifth of 1 Timothy chapter number 1. And then tomorrow we read, finish Judges 21 and Ruth 1, Psalm 99, 100 and half of 101. Finish Ezekiel 6 and Luke 18 and about a fifth of Luke 19. And finish 3/4 of 1 Timothy chapter 1. Then we have our 6-month schedule where I've modified the ribbons, and today's reading will be Genesis chapter 19, verse 24 through 38, and chapter 20, Joshua chapter 14, and chapter 15, verse 1 through 6, Isaiah chapter 22, 1 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 25 through 29, and chapter 16, and Matthew chapter 19. So again, Genesis chapters 19, verse 24 through 38, and chapter 20, Joshua chapters 14 and chapter 15, verse 1 through 6, Isaiah chapter 22, 1 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 25 through 29, and chapter 16, and Matthew chapter 19. Then tomorrow will be Genesis chapter 21, Joshua chapter 15, verse 7 through 45, Isaiah chapter 23 and 24, verses 1 through 12, 1 Chronicles chapter 17, and Matthew chapter 20, and chapter 21, verse 1 through 22. And again, Genesis 21, Joshua 15, verse 7 through 45, Isaiah chapter 23 and chapter 24, verse 1 through 12, 1 Chronicles chapter 17, Matthew chapter 20, chapter 20 and chapter 21, verse 1 through 22. Then the New Testament readings today for our 3-month schedule. Today is Luke chapter 9. Tomorrow, Luke chapter number 10. Now, I want to challenge you. We have more than 150 days left in the year to read the Treasury of David. The Treasury of David by reading one psalm a day. And read the prefaces, okay? It's a 7-volume book. It's available online a couple of different ways. But originally, 7-volume work. It took him 15 years to get it worked through. I'm not trying to diminish anything by saying I challenge you to go through it in a year's time. Not a year's time, but within this 6 months is what we're trying to do. And Just for an example, though, but let me read the title page here. The Treasury of David, containing an original exposition of the Book of Psalms, a collection of illustrative or illustrative extracts from the whole range of literature, a series of homiletical hints upon almost every verse, and lists of writers upon each psalm. In 3 volumes, that's how they usually publish it today. But volume one, part one, some will say it's generally around 400 and up to about 480 pages or something. It just depends on how the person puts it. But uh, it goes through Psalm 26, the first volume, which is half of a a 3 volume set. So anyway, 26 of the Psalms are in this first volume here, um, and it's around 427 pages the way they have it numbered, and then the second volume is around 486 or so. I'm not seeing. It's that, and then afterwards it has an index, but it has a preface that's just a short page and a half for each volume. So as you go, you read that, and then the psalm. So the first psalm is, I think it's like 5 pages, and one of them is only one-sided. So we're talking 8.5 or nine pages, 8 and 9, and it's not quite all of 9 pages. Um, and I'm not saying to read it by you know try to say it right. I'm not saying to read it by studying it. Read it devotionally. I want to challenge you to do that. There's 150 psalms, and if we read one a day, starting today, it will be done before the end of the year. If you fall behind, I mean, that's okay. If there's a reason that we have to slow down and divide it up, that's true too. Psalm 119 is 1 volume, so that may slow us down quite a bit. That may be an additional, if he's dividing it up by 8, verses per exposition and section, like Psalm 1 is about 9 pages. If it's 9 pages devoted to, each 8 verses, um, that may make sense. I'm not sure if that would add up. I don't think it would. But anyway, the second psalm, though, just to look at it real quick, is 21 pages. No, it goes to 21, which is about 10 pages. So it's a little bit longer than the first psalm. And then the third psalm is, let's see here, page 24 to 33. So about 9 pages, somewhere around the same amount. It may go back and forth like that. And again, I'm challenging you to do this. If you'll take up the challenge, if you'll commit yourself to it, and you do it. Again, I need to go look at the section with Psalm 119 to see how he puts it together. But if it takes us 26 days to get through, you know, the first 26, and then for the second setup, it says he has 31 in that section, so that'd be 31 days to get through that if we're reading it one a day. Devotionally, just read. If you got a couple of pins, mark a couple of things different ways. You mark something that's interesting, just quickly, or do you have questions of, take a different color or something like that, and mark it a different color. And when you come back to study it, next year or something like that, then then you already have markings in there where you're like, okay, this is what I need to really look into, or thought I did last year anyway, and stuff like that. So just read it devotionally. I'm not sure how long it'll take to read that many pages, uh, you know, and I'm not sure that it really divides up evenly or anything like that. I'm just putting it out there too. Nobody's required to do this, obviously, but I think it would be good uh, for everybody to have some devotional, usage of the Psalms. Now, if that's too much, let's say, let me say it this way: if that's too much, um, this is Warren Wiersbe's uh, Bible, the Bible Exposition Commentary, Old Testament. He's got the Psalms in this volume, and in this volume, let's try and get to the beginning of the Psalms. Sorry. And like I said, this may vary quite a bit, but the Psalms go from page 83 through, come on, we're in the Proverbs there. 386. So a little more than 300 pages. 2 pages a day would get you through this in 150 days, right? And the Psalms, he's got an introduction. It says book 1. You got Psalm 1. It occupies about 3 pages of exposition. Psalm 2 occupies about 2.5 pages. Psalm 3 occupies about the same. Psalm 4, a little bit less. Psalm 5, a little bit less. Another thing like this, again, if you read an average of 2 pages a day, you'd get through this in 150 days. The section on the Psalms, or 151 days. Read the introduction and 2 pages, and that would, you'd stop somewhere in the middle of the exposition there, or just continue on, till you get through those Psalms. But it's probably averaging a couple of pages for most of them. You got 1.5 pages for Psalm 139. Psalm 140 is only about 1 page in a paragraph, and so it all kind of goes back and forth. So that one, I'm not saying that that's the one to read, but that's another example of an exposition of the Psalms. Now, these are not necessarily the Psalms as well. I don't think that this included the whole Psalm. So, with Spurgeon's, the whole Psalm is there, and it may be there twice. So you might be reading it 2 times through, along with. I'm not 100% sure on that, but anyway, but I do recommend Spurgeon for that. If you have another uh, commentary, Matthew Henry's commentary, go get the Psalms portion of that, and just one Psalm a day, read, meditate on it, a little bit, but mostly just devotionally reading through it, and just let some of it speak to you, whatever jumps out at you. And again, take a pen and put a mark somewhere, just a reminder mark, underlining a little question mark or something on the side to remind you that you are thinking something. But don't write too much down because you don't want to slow down. But yes, Matthew Henry's commentary, John Trapp's commentary, John Gill's commentary. Um, there's several other people who've done, things on the Psalms. But I shouldn't keep on talking about it because I need to get to the devotion so we can be done because, I'm rambling on way past the time. So from, again, Call to Glory, July 15th. But again, don't forget, Spurgeon, and there's a lot of helps in there. And so you read the preface; it explains how he did the work, and it also talks about how there's an index. There's an index at the end of the different writers that he quotes from. Although you'll read about them throughout, but you can certainly look at that and see kind of how frequently he pulls from it from each volume. Uh, so um, it's just anyway. I'm not trying um, to bog down on this. Um, and there's anyway, yeah. Let's go on. And I know that seems like a lot. That does. That's 7 volumes of almost 500 pages. Uh, is 3,500 pages of reading, but it can be done. So I'm challenging you. Now, if I start to find out, after a while, that it's like, ooh, this is really hard to read, one a day and get through it, even devotionally so, maybe we need to, read it in sections. I'll try to figure out those sections and stuff. And I'll come back on here and say, my challenge is too hard even for me, and we gotta, do it some different way. And I'll encourage you the other way. Back to the devotional though. Um, 1 Corinthians chapter 14. I'm going to read verse 25 because that's what's here. And then remember it's verses 24 and 25. And of course, I recommend reading the context. And thus are the secrets of the heart of his heart made manifest. And so falling down on his face, he will worship God and report that God is in you of a truth. And thus are the secrets of his heart made manifest. And so falling down on his face, he will worship God and report that God is in you of a truth. How's your worship? Ministry Representative Steve Clark, Lighthouse Children's Homes. How's your worship? We need to ask ourselves, are we worshiping God the way he wants us to worship? Or are we worshiping him our own way? We like to tell God things or ask God for things, and there is a place for that. But is that worship? The answer is no. For we need to be listening to God and listening for God. Here's the kicker. If you are going to listen for God, then you have to be ready and eager to obey right away, all the way, and with a smile. God may call you to do something that you don't feel qualified for. He may call you to do something that is out of your comfort zone, or He may call you just to be more faithful in your worship to Him. That may mean something as simple as being faithful to church, reading your King James Bible more, or praying for the brethren. The point is simply this: God wants us to worship Him His way, but this will not happen unless we are lifting up the truth. In these verses, Paul tells us that the church in Corinth lifted up Christ and worshiped so truly that an unsaved person would come under conviction of the truth and worship God with them. When when was the last time your worship of God brought someone under conviction to get right with God? Another question was, uh, no, another question. When was the last time you had so much of the truth in you that it just overflowed and you couldn't help but tell someone about what He's doing in your life? You see, that's where we need to be in our worship. It should bring us closer to God and closer to our brethren. What's the result of that? John 13, verses 34 through 35. I'll leave that for your meditation, recommend it to you. And tomorrow, the devotion's coming from 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 through 14. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 through 14. And uh, I again want to encourage you in reading the Word of God, challenge you to take up this and follow me along with the Treasury of David. I'm reading, one through one Psalm exposition and all that in one day, um, to get through with it this 6 months. And we'll see how it goes. Of course, like I said, when we get to Psalm 119 rather, um, I'm not sure. I'm trying to add it up in my brain, and it's 150 Psalms. It'd be 21 extra days, I think, if it's divided the way I think it is. So, um, that may work out. Um, but if it's anyway, I don't want to get bogged down. I want to move on with this. Um, I've already talked about it. is what I'm trying to say. But we will talk about it a little more. Of course, it might go into next year if we do have to slow down or uh, take up the challenge another way. But again, if you don't have the Treasury of David, again, it's available uh, online. Um, I believe it's available just fully online, uh, either in a photocopy version, like from archive.org or Google Books, or it's on one of the Spurgeon websites. And with like a Spurgeon website, you can go to that page and your computer can actually read you the entire, the whole thing. So however fast that takes, you could go through it that way. That's a devotional way of reading if you're paying attention. Now, if you go and you're thinking about mowing the lawn and you're washing dishes and stuff like this, and it's not going into your ears and you're not concentrating on it at least somewhat, you're not going to get much out of it. So if you're a slower reader like I am, and you want to read it in that kind of a way, it may even be available as an audio book. It probably is. Somebody probably has it read out, even if AI has done it nowadays. Um, but I encourage you to do this, um, to go through the whole thing. Now, the thing about the computer reading it and stuff like that is when it gets to verses, it'll say something like VI, 13, VI 15, and stuff like that because of Roman numeral uh, usage and stuff like that. And it may pronounce words really strange because just the way that you know computer programs work. So just keep it in mind if that's the way you go and do it. If somebody has read this and it's out there available, that would be really interesting too. I would love for somebody to let me know if that's the case. But anyway, I am rambling on. I'm going to stop really. Uh, my hope is that you're encouraged to be in the Word of God and let it be a blessing to your heart. We'll see you again tomorrow for another day by day devotional. Bye.